All right, so this is going to be video number 3. This is going to be the part where we are going to talk about how to enter the same exact test we've used, which is the first 3 questions of that density exam or assessment. And we're going to talk about now what it means to actually put that into CMS. So your questions are into CMS. Different things you can do with that is you can make a copy of the test and you can adjust it for a retest. You can make a copy of the test and you can make a modified test out of that. You can also go back next year and pull the same exact questions out. You can bank those test questions. So there's just a lot of stuff that you can do, which makes it slightly more complicated than the other video 2, which just had to do with making a quick answer key. So notice I've already logged in. Again, I'm going to apologize for the choppiness of the video. I'm going to do what I can to make that as smooth as possible. It's also uncut, so if you want to skip around in the YouTube video to find the information you need, feel free to do that also. So I've already logged in as myself. I'm going to go over here to assessments, and we are going to create an assessment. And remember, this is a little bit different than last time. The last video we chose manual. Well, today we're going to choose express, because we want to put our questions into the test itself. So test name, I'm going to stick with the same format that I've used, and I'm just going to title this quiz for CMS Training Video number 3. This is video number 3. Again, I'm going to choose my subject. I teach science, so I'm going to pick science, and then we're going to choose 6th grade as our grade level. And the next thing that's going to make it a little bit different, we're going to select our document here. And again, for me, this is science content. Here, where it says answer key only, in video 2, we click yes. Right now, we do not want an answer key. We want the actual questions, images, and the answers in CMS so students can see all this through their device. So once we get to here, we're just going to go over and we're going to click select standards. It forces you to select the standards. Again, I know we've gone over this where it talks, where I've talked about make sure that your CMS test that you've written and your Word document formation definitely has all this information in there, and it will if you write a quality test. So what we're going to do now is this, every single one of these is going to be 6.6b. A couple things you want to notice. Look right there where it says 1. All right, so there's 10 questions total for 6.6c. 6.6b has 1, 6.6a has 1. The total TEAC right here, 6.6, has 12. What we want out of this is that one question. Now, I'm going to show you why this matters here in just a second. So we're going to add to test map over here on the right-hand side. And what it's going to do is prompt us, well, how many of those questions are available? 1. How many do we want? Well, you will at least have to have 1. If you hit 0 here, which I'll do, I'm going to put in 0 because we don't want to use any of those. Notice that the first thing pops up is between 1 and 250. So we have to find at least 1. It's in the released CDB question. I can already tell you what it is just by guessing because I've done this so much. So we're going to hit Build Express Test, and it's going to build us a test with that one question that has been banked from somewhere. So taking a look at that question, we are going to edit this question. All right. Now, what you're about to see is a question that has to do with density and finding the density for 4 individual substances. And you can look down here and you have to match up which substance you're specifically talking about, because it asks at the bottom which one is most likely carbon. I'm going to zoom in so you can see that a little bit better. All right, so this is a long test question. You have to calculate densities of 4 unknown objects, and then you have to compare those densities to the chart here of some known substances to identify carbon. This is the CMS test right here that we're looking at. I can tell you, however, though, that this is a released STAR test question from 2015, and you can go look that up on Lead Forward. So again, you can see the value of Lead Forward. So this test question has already been entered into the system. Now, we don't necessarily want this test question, but we do want to add some items. So over here on the left, we're going to add a multiple choice question. And what you hopefully have done already, what I was talking about earlier, was make sure that you have gone and written this test into Word, and you're about to see why. So I've already done that. I just clicked on the very bottom where I've had this opened, and I'm going to highlight my question number 1, which again, if you'll remember, matches this question number 1. I'm going to do it like here so you can see a little bit better. All right, so this question and this question match each other. So we obviously have the same thing, except now it's in digital format, and you're going to see why that's a benefit. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to click copy. I'm going to go back to the CMS test. I'm going to notice it won't let you paste. You have to do the old school Control V. All right, so now my question is in there, but it's a little small. So I like to change everything to font family, Andel Mono, and then font size 12. This seems to be a pretty friendly font when you're working with subscripts. I know some of you guys don't care about that at all. Subscripts are pretty important in some sections in science. There's also a subscript button right here, but that font seems to be fairly friendly. I've experimented with a lot of different fonts. Some of them work better than others. So at this point, what we want to do is put in our answers. So I'm going to highlight, copy, and just quickly paste in my answers. I'm going to go to answer choice B. Going to copy that as well, and then go back to my answer choices here and Control V. Whoops, don't do that. Again, all of this is unedited. Normally I would make this a little more user friendly, but in this case I'm doing the best I can with what I have available in front of me. So we're going to click on 70 as well. Now here's where the editing part comes back. Whenever you do this with your cohort, other people, when you go to share it, have the ability to look at your stuff, which is a good thing because you get multiple eyes on each question. Sometimes the fonts are wrong, sometimes the answers are wrong, sometimes things just don't go the way you want them to. So we are going to superscript this and put our 3 for our answer, and then we're going to come down here to the bottom and we're going to superscript this as well and put our 3. So I'm just going to go over here, and this is for centimeters cubed. Okay, for centimeters cubed, we're going to change that to milliliters, and grams is okay with how you see it there. So right now we have our test question and we have our answer choices. What we need to do now, however, is pick a correct answer choice. So I can tell you the correct answer choice is A, and we're going to leave the point value as 1 for right now. Now keep in mind, if 10 question test, each one would be worth 10 points, so on and so forth, but you have to put something here. If you don't put something, then I'm going to show you what it does. If you leave it as 0 and you hit save, all right, red flag, something went wrong. So now we have to look at our question and be like, what was the deal? The deal is you don't have any points. All right, so we're going to back up real quick, and we are going to, just for now, put 1 back in there. We do have to select a standard though, meaning you have to know what TEKS this is. So you can see the value of knowing the TEKS in your head, also having them on paper in front of you, making sure that you tag your Word doc format with the TEK as you move along, makes your life a lot easier also. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see. We've selected the TEK. We're going to hit the arrow. It's going to open up this, and our TEK is 6.6b. So we're going to click that, and then we're going to go back over here to save and close. And now we have our test question, we have our correct answer choice with some points assigned, and notice that we have a check mark now where it is green. So we don't want that first question in there. All right, so I'm going to go back to that first question, which was the one that was pulled from 2015 STAR test, and I'm going to hit delete. It's going to ask me if you really want to. The answer is yes. All right, so now we have our question number 1, which matches our question number 1 from here. And so what we're going to do is add question number 2. Now, at the bottom it says add item, so this is how you're going to go about that. Again, this is a multiple choice option. So we're going to jump back to our question, which was on the test that we've already written in Word doc. We're going to highlight, copy, and we're going to Control V that back into the test. We are going to change our font to 12 and Andel Mono. Now keep in mind, we're about to add an image here. Okay, so notice that I put my cursor underneath my question. We're going to jump back to our test. We're going to right click on our image. We're going to copy it, and we're going to paste it with the Control V. And now our image from the test is back in here. Let's say you want to change the size of your image. Now's a great time to do that. All you got to do is like a normal Word document or Google Doc, just grab the corner of it, and you can change it to however big or small you see One of the benefits of giving a test digitally is that the quality of the image doesn't degrade. If you were to print this test out, I can tell you right now that the water level, because it's light blue on a regular test, is very hard to see. Some of the benefits of doing this digitally is that you can see the image perfectly, there's a lot of clarity, and we're not wasting ink or paper. So now lastly, we have to add the answer choices. So 2 milliliters, 4, 6, and 8, you can see here. I'm just going to write those out. There's no need to copy and paste on something that's that quick. So I'm just going to write 2 milliliters, and then I'm going to tab to the next one, write 4 milliliters, and then 6 milliliters, and then go to the last one and type in 8 milliliters. Oops. All right, so now we have all of our answers in here. Now we got to make sure that we put the correct answer. I can tell you the answer for this is 6. So we're going to click there. It does have a point value. We have to select a standard. Again, this whole quiz, this one that we're walking through, all of them are 6.6B. So we'll click the down drop and click that. Scroll over here, and we will save and close. And we have one last question to add. And so we'll hit save down here. Oops, I forgot to tell you guys, hit save at the bottom again. All right, so now we have a green check mark, we have our question, we have our image, we have a readable font. Everything seems to be pretty good right now. I'm going to do one more for you just to show you again. So we're going to go to add item, and we'll click add item. It's going to prompt us for multiple types of answers. One thing I will tell you is there's true false gridded, which is really handy when it comes to calculating density. We do have a practice gridding in there, which is a big deal because students struggle with gridding. Open response is the form we use for our FRQs. So there's a lot of different things on here you can use. We're going to go ahead and stick with the multiple choice for question number 3. And question number 3, we'll jump back to our test. Now I can hope you see the value of what it means to just copy and paste. And so we will highlight question number 3, copy it, drag it back over here, Control V it into place, make sure that we change our font. And our font is already 12 there, which is a good thing. So what is the formula to find the density of an object? Now we are going to go take a look at our answer choices. So there's our answer choices. Again, if you would like to just copy and Control V into each of the spots, you can do that. It doesn't take very long. So I'm going to do this real quick. Another couple of things to keep in mind as you do this. Again, make sure that when you go to share it and you write and you put all of this stuff in there, give yourselves and your cohort time to go back and find errors. You know, I've done this a handful of times, and the first few times I did it, I'll be honest with you, I got in there, I was all pumped up. I'm like, heck yeah, man, we're about to give this test digitally. This is so cool. And then a few minutes in, I was watching the proctor screen, which is live, and I was like, man, everybody's missing question number 3. What's the deal? Only to go look at the question and see that there was a typo, or I clicked the wrong answer for the answer key for the system to figure out what's right and wrong. So have a couple of eyes look at it, and that way it makes things a little better. Our correct answer here is C. What is the correct formula for density? It's density equals mass divided by volume. Notice when you put answer choices in, put answer choices in that help you as a teacher figure out if there's a multi-step question where the student went wrong, and that also helps to target the tutorials. If you have a teach-reteach session for an entire class, or perhaps just an individual student, all that stuff being in there with quality answer choices helps you as a teacher pinpoint their weakness and where they fell apart on multi-step questions. All right, so select standards. We're going to click on that. Again, this is all 6.6B. So we're going to scroll down, find 6.6, click on B, save and close. All right, so those are the only 3 questions that I'm going to add to this. I'm going to go back over here and click save. So right now you are ready. You have all of your questions in CMS. You have added images to a couple of them, which makes things nice. The other thing that we want to make sure we do is we share it properly with everybody else that's going to be taking this. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit here, and what we're going to do is return to test details, which is up here at the top. All right, so we've saved everything, and now we want to get to the real business of sharing it with everyone else. So in order, I'm going to kind of walk through this again. I know I did basically the same thing with the other test. I did realize after I was done that I said something about a password not being there. There's a spot for the password on the answer key only, but to be honest with you, there's no point to use it because there's nothing for the student to do online. So now we will use that password spot. So let's walk through those steps to get us there. I'm I'm going to zoom in a little bit. We're going to make this public, meaning we're about to schedule it to take it. Again, this is that pop-up that says right now, do you want to proceed? We're going to hit OK, but as you go throughout the course of the year, one of the things you might find valuable, what we do in 6th grade here is we add at least 1 or 2 supporting TEK questions from each of those tests throughout the course of the school year. So our first test was 10 questions. Our second test was over TEK 6.5C and D. 6.5C is a supporting standard for us in science. So we're going to go ahead and add a question. We're going to spiral in one of those test questions, one of the ones that has the lower success rates, into test number 3, and so on and so forth. So by adding those TEKs of stuff you know students struggle with, they can see it multiple times throughout the course of the school year. And when you go to produce data, it makes things really handy that you can see a trend. Did they get it over time throughout the course of the school year, or was it something that we just need to learn how to teach better? And we'll talk a little bit about that in videos for number 5, which is how to reflect on your data. So right now, do we want to proceed? The answer is yes. And so it's going to ask us to start picking some specific information, like when do we want to open this test up so kids can actually take it? We're going to, just today, I'm going to pick today's date, which is the 13th. We're going to stick with the end date that automatically pops up. I'm not real concerned about that, but this is a thing that you need to have figured out with your cohort. You need to have those test dates in mind, when the first person's going to take it, when the last person's going to take it, and you can fix all that. The score due date, we're going to come back and talk about this specifically because there's a way for students to go back and look at their test scores based on their CMS dashboard for their personal S number, which is awesome, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But right now, we don't want any students to access it until the last teacher gives it, right? So they don't go home and click on it and then write the answers down and go tell their buddies. Not that that would happen in 6th grade, but some of the upper level classes, it's a real possibility. So we're going to prevent the students from from accessing the test results. The next thing, this is a big one, all right? I've started to experiment with the test nav, which is where the system will read the test question to that particular student, all right? And so for this, we are going to go ahead and click enhanced version, and I'm going to show you why in one of the videos where I'm going to allow kids to actually take the test so you can see what it looks like live. So online passcode, we're going to make this nice and simple. One of the things you have to keep in mind, you can't repeat passwords. I did that and it wouldn't let me schedule it. So since this is for video 3, we're going to make it nice and obvious. We're going to make our password video 3. Typically we use some of the elements from the periodic table or perhaps vocab words that are important. So moving on, things that we do want to do. You can enforce a test time, meaning that students only get so much time to take this test. If you want it to be just during the class, you can do that. Once they log in, they have a certain amount of time to take it. Once their time's up, it stops them. A timed test, track and display, scramble question order, scramble answer choices. These are all things that you get to pick with your cohort what you want to do. I will pick track and display student response times, and then we're going to keep the questions in order. You know what, actually let's mix them up so when I do that video you guys can see that students don't see the questions or order in the same as the answer choices either. So we're going to click both of those. Next thing we're going to do is a big part of it. You have to edit your assignment so other teachers that you work with can give the same test. So I'm in science, I teach 6th grade, I'm going to hit go. What it's going to do is generate all of the sections that are in science, but the ones that I really care about are these 3 right here, Science 6, 6 Collab, and 6 GT. And then I'm going to go back over here and hit add selected. It's going to share all of that stuff with those teachers. Now that we have that in there, what we want to do is go over to done view summary, which I know is right there at the bottom of the screen so you guys can see it a little better. I'll move the camera. And the next thing that we're going to do is hit done. And when we hit done, it has been scheduled. We have shared it with other teachers. And right now you'll notice it says in progress. All right, so basically right now students can come in here. They can log into CMS with their phone, with the Chromebook, with the desktops in the lab room, wherever you want to, in the library, if that's the only available area you have to take it. And then as soon as students log in through the CMS website, through Northside, just like you would, then they'll be able to take this quiz. And so that's a very handy that if you know the password, they don't have to go search for the test number 2 or test number 3. Just it is password sensitive. So as soon as they type in the correct password, it automatically takes them. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is notice right here where it says new or modified test nav test. It must be published first before it can be administered. The reason for that is the system is asking for the test right now. And when you do that, what it's going to give you is a publish to test nav option. What that means is that system is going to try to go ahead and get all of the text to speech stuff taken care of. Now we want to make sure that text to speech is in there, so I'm going to show you how to go down here. We're going to look at a couple of different things. So schedule information, right? This is when we looked at our schedule and our settings. So we can double check some of these things. Is everything how we wanted it? Yes, this is all great. Okay, scramble, this and that. If you want to make changes, now's the time to do that. So we're going to go back and we're going to look at, okay, test properties. So when you click on test properties, you're going to scroll down a little bit, and here's the stuff that is specific to test nav. It says accommodations, line reader, magnifier, text to speech. Well, we want it to have text to speech. So what you have to do is make sure that you have it so the accommodations are set up so you can click on test nav. Now notice right now, if I try to click on that, it won't let me. So we have to figure out, well, what's the deal with that? You have to go to edit properties, and now it's going to give you the option. Well, did you want text to speech? Well, yes, we do. So we're going to click on that. We want it, you can, this one we're going to do in English. You can also do it in Spanish as well. So we have that where we want it. We're going to text to speech is clicked. We're going to hit save. And now we are ready to roll. Okay, what this means is we have to give it a second. It says test nav must be published before it can be administered or scored. Test publishing and text to speech generation can take up to an hour. So don't be trying to do this the day of, all right? You want to make sure that you go back to what I was talking about with writing a quality test. Have an edit date as a group. Have an upload finalize date as a group. Then when you upload and finalize it, when you hit this button right here, it will take a little while to publish, and you'll get your default over here in the corner. It says this test is being published. When it's done, now it's ready for students to actually take a look at. So notice right there it says text to speech is being generated. So it does take a little bit for the software to go through each of the questions and find the words and make sure that they can read them. It's a growing process. I can tell you that I worked a lot with Lisa Armstrong, and man, I'll jump out there and try this, and a few hiccups that we ran across. Make sure that students go through their device. If they use the device, they go through Chrome. Don't let them go through Safari because it'll give them a bad password. Let's say your students log in, and I'm going to show you here since we're right here already. Your students log in and it says you are not allowed access to this. Well, click on the home button and it'll take them right back to their personal page where it says welcome back Jerry. It'll say welcome back Sally or whatever the case is. Okay, so just a few things. Again, I hope this video kind of helps you figure out how to write your test, how to add questions, how to add images. Again, that can add to the quality of the test overall. And the bigger thing is we're going to show you what this means once the student can take the test digitally, and I'm going to show you that in video number 5. So again, I hope this helped out, and we'll move on from here.